You see me walking by, and the tears are in my eyes. Look away, baby, look away.
He's a two-time Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, producer whose addictive hooks, incredible style has often defined the very artists and bands that sing his songs. And of course, he was already successful before Chicago, the voice that you couldn't wait to hear in every Chicago song. And of course, he sang on two of their biggest hits, actually more, but Look Away and I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love. You've heard his songs even before then with Earth, Wind, and Fire's After the Love Is Gone and George Benson's Turn Your Love Around. It is none other than the man himself, Bill Champlin. How you doing, Bill?
Good, man. I'm awake. I'm talking to a pal, and what's not to love? You know what I mean? We're screaming.
Well, Bill, you got one of those voices, man, that even when you're talking, I can still hear, look away, all that, man. Do you know how many people have sang along with you on those Chicago songs alone, not mentioning all that you've done? Amazing contribution to Chicago. 28 years you were with Chicago.
Yeah, I joined in 81 and I left in 2009.
Man, I tell you what, I've seen other interviews and I've read other articles too, Bill, and no one can deny when they brought. I think you're the best decision Chicago made.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, they made two really good decisions at the same time. They were kind of in a slump at one point, and they kind of talked to me about joining. I said, let's see I'm in. And
Right.
And then Danny Serafin called me. He says, "What do you think of David Foster as a producer?" I said, "David's he's up and coming like nobody's business."
Right.
But I'll tell you, you're going to have to take the songs I've heard the songs you've been working on. Not many of them are going to fly. I mean, the one that you and I wrote probably got a better shot, but many of them are going to fly. You're going to have to kind of start over with David and start writing.
Well, you liked him enough. You guys have been writing together since what, 1978?
Yeah, David and I started working together. I mean, before that, even we did the second to last Sons album, Circle Filled with Love album. Keith Olsen was the producer.
Wow.
And Keith said, you got a few songs in here that need strings. Let's go over to this friend of mine's house and we can maybe write it. I'm going to send a couple of cassettes to him. And I walked into an apartment at that point, and it was David Foster. And I mean, we hit it off immediately, started writing stuff together.
Well, Bill, I'm excited to talk about your new music and beyond. And, back to Chicago, the combination of you and Cetera, your voices was otherworldly. It was just very, very special.
I think that's what kind of made it really happen in a lot of ways.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because in my opinion, and some people that I know, man, the sound of you guys, and again, I always wanted to hear, when's that dude coming in? When's Bill coming in?
Yeah.
Like Hard Habit to Break. So many of those great songs and hits, Bill, that they wouldn't have been the same with Cetera's voice alone. Both you guys knew you had something special the first time you sang together. What was that?
Well, it's crazy. There was a friend of mine, a guy named Angelo, who was married to, at that time, Danny Serafin's current wife, Teddy Serafin. Really, still a great friend.
Wow.
And Angelo, I had done a record with him, with Michael Stewart production and Fantasy Records years before. And he called me. I was right in the middle of doing Rittenhour's album. I think we were doing the Rit album for Lead, which had "Is It You" on it, right? Which was another song that I co-wrote.
Yeah.
And did all the background vocals and all that kind of general studio stuff. And he called me like 9:30 in the morning, and I just got home at about 6 after a long session night. He says, "Hey man, I'm doing this record. I don't have any money. We're just doing these demos to try to get a deal. Can I get you to sing on it?" And I said, I copped the plea. I went, "Now, I really got a bad cold," which I kind of had a cold. It's nothing real bad. He says, "Well, Pete said the same thing." I said, "Pete?" He said, "Yeah, Peter Cetera." I said, "When's the session? I'll be there." I just love Peter's voice. I always have. It's one of those, just the most delicious tones of anybody's. So I got to sing with this guy. So we got to the session, and in the booth we were working out backgrounds for one of the songs. And we were singing them real quiet in falsetto just to get what the notes were. And then when we went to the microphone, we started singing it out full. And I looked in the booth, and the producer, who was Danny Serafin, the engineer, everybody was just their jaws were on the floor, going, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
this is gonna be great!" Angela was like, "Well, so much for my record," and it only took a little while. And then Danny and I started writing together. We wrote a song called "Sunny Think Twice" that we on the 16 album. And then he called me and said, "Yeah, you want to join up with the band?" I said, "What do I have to do?" He said, "Well, you got to sing some of Terry's stuff." And I said, "Well, that's cool. What? He says, "Well, Make Me Smile." I said, "Yeah, I like that song. Color My World. I'll get back to you."
It was such a brilliant combination of your voices. And you know what? I thought when Cetera left, I thought, well, Champlin's strong enough.
They needed to have a tenor. And as far as the band was, I
Yeah.
mean, when we started to do some songs with Ron Nevison, who was really hot with all the Heart stuff right around there, Jefferson Starship and that whole thing. And Ron was going, he brought in the song "Look Away," and everybody in the office. And this is weird. It was in a boardroom of an office. I've always thought, you want to be a for real band, don't make your decisions in a boardroom. Make them in a pizza parlor with some greasy pepperoni all over you. 3-2 beer, flat 3-2 beer. You're swinging. Now that's where it started. That's where it should stay. At any rate, they said, "Well, we got to get it up in Jason's key, up in the tenor range." And Ron said, I want that guy to sing."
Wow.
And he just pointed at me. And those guys, usually when a producer came in, they would say, "Well, this is what we have as a band. We have Jason, we have the original guys. That's our band." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, sir, can I have my sucker now?" And usually, almost every producer went, "Well, what's with that guy?"
It seems like yesterday I heard Chicago 17 and I heard your voice for the first time with "Hard Habit to Break." I tell you what, Bill, I got to tell you, man, you were the soundtrack of so many of our lives. I think a lot of people were married to your songs, conceived to your songs, graduated to your songs.
It's like, it's like somebody said, "Hey, man, a lot of albums coming out this year." Yeah, it's because we were locked down last year. There's going to be more albums coming out than there were babies born after the New York blackout.
Well, that's no joke,
And the thing is weird is for the whole time I was in that band, a certain contingent of that band wanted me out. They didn't like me. They didn't dig it.
I have a feeling they felt the same way about Cetera too. MTV was a new thing, and the camera kept going to him. But I tell you, brother, you look pretty cool too. As a matter of fact, man, you've had every kind of hairstyle: beard, no beard, long hair, short hair, mustache.
When I moved down from Marin County, my hair, I was sitting on my hair. It was like, I was one of those. I looked like I was in Redbone or something. Which is a great band, by the way. But and it was like at some point in the game, every time I'd go to get a breath singing, even if I had it tied back, I'd go to get a breath singing, and a bunch of hair would go down my throat. I finally went, it's not working. So that's when I started cutting my hair. And after a while, I went, well, I'm tired of the beard, so let's get rid of that. It's the other word for life, change.
Well, you know what? Something that's been steady in your life for a long time is your wonderful wife, Tamara.
Yeah. We're coming up on 40 years in December, 40 years of anniversary. We're actually going to go to France.
Oh, good. You're going to love it.
If the planes are going to fly, I've got a stack of home COVID tests that you got to show positive tests, and it's just more hoops to jump through. I remember when all of a sudden, especially after 9/11, all of a sudden flying on an airplane wasn't as much fun as it used to be.
Well, after the love is gone, there's so many hooks within the hooks.
Yeah, there's 2 choruses.
Oh man, in my opinion, that song defined Earth, Wind, and Fire. I believe it was their biggest hit after the love is gone. But tell us, for those who don't know, I got to learn this the other day from you. You were actually recording that for one of your albums.
Yeah, for a single album. It was a last minute thing. We had enough tunes, but we could have. If I'd have done that song, I'd have probably gotten rid of something else. I mean, that happens all the time.
Right.
Michael Jackson recorded 100 songs to get 10.
Wow.
Just to dig through and go, well, that one seems like it's good. Let's finish it, get deeper in it. But I didn't really have the greatest demo on it. I wasn't singing it all that well. It was a little bit out of David came over and he says, "Let me play something for you." And he played me the thing, and all he had was "After the Love Is Gone." That's what he had.
Wow.
So I had to write backwards from there. And I said, well, put it on a tape. I'll write it. And he said, no, I got to teach it to you. It took me longer to learn the piano part than it did to learn there's some serious, but the change into after something happened along the way,
man.
which a lot of people thought was the chorus. And
Really?
then all of a sudden, oh, boom, after the, and it just goes into the
And it just goes up and up. My friend Joseph, lifelong friend, that's one of his favorite songs in the whole world. And man, you're just such a hero to him as well. But was it the lead singer that heard that song being recorded and said, "Hey"?
Maurice is the leader and one of the main singers in that band. And David, I think, was doing just doing a piano date, playing, as a session guy. On an Earth, Wind and Fire date, and they were rolling the tape back. Remember those days? We had to wait for the tape to roll back?
Analog, man.
So he was hanging out at the piano and just playing it. And Maurice came over and said, "What is that?" He says, "A song that me and Bill." Who's Bill? Bill Champlin. I don't know. He said, "I got a cassette. Got a minute?" So he went in and they listened to it. He says, "If Bill will agree to not release it, I'll put it on our record. You can produce it."
Oh my gosh.
And then David, that pretty much got him into being kind of a co-producer on the I Am album. Thing is, he wanted, David played him the whole album. He said, he brought the whole band and said, "Dig this guy. This brother is really great." And David said, "And a brother's a white guy. Oh, you got Foster, you're lying." It was one of those things.
Brother from another mother. Bill, everything you do, I mean, whether it's rock, whether it's R&B, whether you still have this signature sound.
Have you heard Wonderground, the Wonderground album?
Not yet, but you know what? I wanted to go in your discography.
Really, that's a really, really good record. It was me and Tamara and a friend of mine, Gary Falcone, who's a studio singer, really good guitarist, and we did kind of a little more leaning toward rock than my solo album. You know what I mean?
Well, let's go through this, okay? If you don't mind.
Okay,
I mean,
sure enough.
78. I mean, I really want to celebrate you, Bill. I'm encouraging everyone this whole time, folks. You've been seeing Bill's website at the bottom of the screen. Get a hold of this music, man, because no matter what he's doing, it's good. And, even though people say, well, hey, those are great Chicago songs, Bill, man, you carry that thing with you.
There's something going on at this day and age. And it's probably one of the reasons why so many tribute bands are out there.
Yeah.
And people really don't want to hear anything that they haven't already heard. And I understand it. And these guys, these musicians, good musicians, are working all the time. But I'm a real fool for new music. I mean, I'm probably, because I have to go out and sing Look Away. If I go out, I got to do Look Away. And I've rearranged it. I've tried to make it interesting for myself. I mean, I'm just not the guy that wants to play it like the record.
Right.
I'm the guy.
Well, I've noticed
Chicago was buying that for a while. And then all of a sudden somebody talked them into going in and redoing some songs. Some of their early songs, and they sat around going, "Oh, we were great. Let's go back to that." And it was just sort of like, "Oh, I got you. I see where this is going. You're going to be a tribute band to yourself. Got it." And that was the point where the contingent that wanted me out was going, "Hey, wow, we don't need him anymore."
Well, you've been quoted saying the music was calling, and the music is always calling you.
Yeah.
You've remained just even this new music. And of course, I love celebrating, beginnings too. And, your first album, Full Moon with Epic Records.
Yeah, Full Moon.
Man.
And Runaway album was it's in Scandinavia and in Japan, it's considered the sort of ground zero of what they call West Coast music. That, mine, and Toto, and there was a handful of Chicago's first record, anything Foster touched. It was all kind of, that's where, somebody said, that's West Coast music, and now they're calling it yacht rock, which I'm not quite sure.
Well, you got 1981 Runaway.
That was a big record in Scandinavia and stuff. But I had just joined Chicago.
Okay.
And Chicago was on Warner's, and Elektra is a Warner's thing, and they didn't want it. They kind of pulled the plug on Runaway because it was taken off on its own.
Yeah.
And I know a retailer in Germany, I think it was, he wanted to buy 300,000 of them.
Wow.
And Elektra wouldn't sell them to him because somebody said, "Nah, don't, pull the plug on Champlin because he's in Chicago now. We want to keep him."
Well, you had No Wasted Moments in 1990.
Yeah, that was was basically a real quick one that we knocked off for Japan mostly. Yeah.
Burned Down the Night in 92. Man, you got so many songs here. Through It All in 94.
Yeah.
And he started to sing.
Yeah.
Turn
That's
Up Music Group. Wow, that's 95.
he started to sing. He's got some really cool stuff on it.
You know what?
Really cool stuff.
You know what, Bill? I'm going to buy every one of these.
Yeah.
96 Mayday, Champlin Records.
Yeah.
That sounds
Well,
familiar. Did you start your own label?
Mayday was, well, I had kind of no choice. We were on the road. I had a band on the road, and I was going to come back. And in 2 weeks after, a week and a half after I got back, I had to go out on a long Chicago tour.
Wow.
And the record, this is funny. The record company that was in Japan had sent a note to my manager. They still owed me one more record. You know?
Right.
Sent a note to my manager at the time, Jack Frechette, who was part of Turn Up, the music group, and said, you know, we're going to go with just Japanese artists now, so we're not going to do the next album. And I said, you know what? Make believe you didn't get the note.
Uh-huh.
Call them and tell them you're ready to do it. We've got another album in the can. And it's on its way. And that way it was a 75 grand budget. That record was, we sent them a thing saying we're ready to go. And next thing you know, there was a check in the mail. We just made believe they didn't tell us that they weren't going to do it. So we made them do it. And I went in, I took the band and I said, hey, look, we just did a whole set. Let's go and do it. Let's go in and do it. Let's do it live. Rented a studio, and the Le Mobile remote truck was parked right across from the studio, from a practice hall. We just did the set twice. And they just recorded it running the wires across the driveway, you know, and that was done in about a week and a half. We did it all real quick, and it was a great band. So I mean, it was like kind of cool to have that. What we forgot to do was ask people to come clap. You know, there were 12 people in the audience. I got everything else together, but I forgot to get an audience. But I just went, I don't really care. Let's just get this thing out.
Yeah.
And we brought it in for really low,
Wow.
budget.
Oh.
Kept the rest, as it were.
2008, No Place Left to Fall, Dreammakers Music.
Yeah, that was a company based out of New Jersey. We recorded it in Hopatcong, New Jersey, which is about an hour north of the Newark airport, right?
Wow.
And we rehearsed it in Nashville. And all the guys, at the time I was living in Franklin, we rehearsed it at SIR in Nashville. And it was kind of interesting. We said, well, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get a band. We're going to pick the songs. We're going to get a band. We're going to rehearse the band. We're going to get an eyeball on how to do the songs. Then we're going to go in and play it. Wow. Novel approach in those days, and we did it that way. So, and we got out of town because everybody was, man, I'll be right back. I got to pick up the kid at school. So everybody had to make arrangements to get somebody else to pick up the kids. And we were in, and it was like, Hopatcong is a real summer resort, and it was wintertime, and they got a really cool, and Jason Cursaro was the engineer, who's a great engineer. He passed a couple of years ago. Oh, unbelievably great engineer. And
wow.
He had a suitcase full of microphones that just make your mouth water. Like, oh my God, look at
wow.
This. And we just went ahead and did it that way. We rehearsed it. I got it written. We got it. It just ended up being great. It was a cool record.
Champlin Williams Freestead, 2015.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was two of them. There was one and two. The first one was CWF, and the second was CWF2. Interesting. Yeah. Novel. But, I mean, Peter's a producer, really a West Coast guy, heavy West Coast guy. And I like West Coast music, but I don't like to just do that only, and he's kind of in that world. I mean, I really love R&B. Give me a break, I mean, I like it. I want it to be funkier than a 3-day-old Band-Aid. I want it so funky it move in next door, your lawn dies. I mean? Oh
man. And then you did Bleeding Secrets in 2018. And
yeah, that was the Wonderground.
Another Champlin Williams Freestead.
Peter's a writer, guitar player, producer from I think he lives around Gothenburg, Sweden.
Wow.
Around that neck of the woods.
And then 2021, Living for Love. I'm loving everything I'm hearing. I have to say, Bill, I know that you had quite an incredible run with Chicago, but I just tend to think that you took the best of Chicago with you. And I think that was you. Your horn arrangements, your style, the soul, of course, Chicago 17 was such a huge album, and really
Well,
I think it was kind of a
Dave-
comeback for Chicago, wasn't it?
David, oh yeah, 16 kind of brought it back because Hard to Say I'm Sorry was an added on song at the end of 16, and it just took off.
Whoa.
By that time, David and Peter really had a run going. They were both just so ready that I even went, oh, you guys go for it. I mean, I had one tune on there that I really liked. That originally was this funny. It was originally David and Lionel Richie were writing it for
Wow.
for Lionel's first record, the Can't Stop Something, whatever.
Yeah.
The one right after he left Commodores.
Wow.
And it was funky, man. David played me a cassette of it, and it was, believe it or not, cassettes. He played the cassette of it, and Lionel was, it was like they didn't really have lyrics on it, but he had and a little couple of lyrics on a chorus and stuff. And he said we played this for James Carmichael, who was Lionel's producer, and James said, "This is too black. This is not what this next album. No, we want to stay in this crossover that you've kind of done by writing for Kenny Rogers and so on and so forth."
Wow.
And, which was probably the right production decision. And David said, "Oh, it's too black. Great. I know just the guy." So he gave it to me, and I finished it up, and somehow ended up on the Chicago album. And it's a monster. It's a great funky shuffle.
Well, you know what? Such a wonderful situation, because your signature sound is the best of Chicago, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one.
You got to remember, I mean, I added a certain flavor to an already put together recipe that already
it's already great.
So it's
already great.
Is much, I know a lot of people go, "Oh, I only like what you did with Chicago." Everything was especially when Foster got in there, everything was really good. Now they really dislike what happened to them with Foster, because it wasn't all completely horn oriented.
Right.
The horn section wanted to get rid of the singers and just do horn parts.
Yeah.
That's going to sell a lot, So,
Well, my research, I noticed they wanted to go back to the original,
which is what they're doing now, and apparently they're doing quite well with it. And more power to them, man. Keep it cooking.
Yeah.
Kids.
Well, I tell you what, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see what I'm seeing, and your music is timeless. Your style is timeless. Your musicianship is still amazing. You inspired me and so many others. You take us back to a better version of ourselves, a better time in America.
Dude, we're writing that song, by the way. We're not using that phrase, but I mean that phrase that you wrote me in an email. I went, wow, it's really a beautiful thing.
Well, it's an honor, Bill, because you know what?
Thanks,
at a crucial time in my life, I came across your artistry, and it's meant the world to me. I know it's meant the world to so many others. This new album, Living for Love, I love the vibe, and it's so versatile within itself. Folks, you got to buy it. I'm going to buy every one of these albums off of BillChamplin.com. I encourage you to as well. And Bill, we always want to know.
We stuff the envelopes and take them to the to the thing. Tamara's got it all figured out. You just do it. It's all PayPal stuff. She's got it all figured out. We can just bang that off and knock it out to you in no time at all.
Well, brother, I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of that album. Any new thing you have, we want to know about it. We want to tell the world about it.
Well, right now we're sort of working on an album for Tamara, because she hasn't had a solo album in quite a few years. So
she's a singer. I didn't even know that.
Monster singer. On Living for Love, she's all over that record. And
she is.
Oh, okay. We co-wrote a whole bunch of stuff, and also I got 3 tunes on there with Greg Matheson. And Matheson's a monster. He's one of the best musicians I've ever worked with. And he and I actually co-produced the whole Burn Down the Night album and co-wrote most of it. And every time I write with Greg, we end up coming up with some really good stuff. So yes, I've got a certain kind of style, but believe me, I mean, when I lived in San Francisco, everybody was at everybody else's house writing all the time. Then suddenly there were bands, Journey, Green Day.
The best era of music, so versatile. Man.
It was all cool, but suddenly everybody was writing their own stuff. So I moved to LA when everybody was at everybody else's house writing. And I went, oh, this is a good, it's fertile soil, pretty much. Wow. And then in LA, it kind of started, it just sort of seemed to dry up. Everybody was writing their own stuff. So I moved to Franklin, Tennessee, where everybody was at everybody else's house writing. So, I mean, I'm not, in a lot of ways, I mean, the last album, of course, because of lockdowns and everything, I had to kind of really do a lot of the stuff myself. And I'm not the world's greatest programmer. I can get done what I need to get done, but pretty slowly compared to all these, these wondering. I mean, a lot of the big hits and a lot of the real stars of music right now are pretty much IT guys. They're so into computers, and that's really great. I put a drum groove on it so that it grooves the way I want to, and then I go replace it with a real drummer who understands where I want to put it.
Right.
You know?
Wow. Well, you know what though? All the technical skills in the world are great, but if you don't have the soul of it, the passion of it, the hook, the things that just come out of you naturally and inherently, it's not going to be as good.
A really great sax player named Larry, I think Larry Randall was his name, played in a Vegas show band called the Big Beats. We met him. We went to see him at off Broadway, I think, in San Francisco.
Wow.
And he just said, the only thing I can tell you about getting good is keep stealing. Steal as much as you possibly can. You hear something Willie Nelson does in the morning that you like, steal it. You hear something Luther Vandross did at night, steal it. Eventually you have so much stuff, just forget who you stole it from and put it all together. And eventually you kind of find yourself amidst all these licks.
Wow.
Because Quincy said it really beautifully. He says there's only 12 notes. We got to use them all.
Wow.
So it's how you use them and how you lean into it. And what, like Wawa Watson one time says, everybody can play Wawa stuff, but they don't put the shoulder in it the way I do, and he was right on the money. There's a certain feel that I've kind of discovered. And my son's the same way. I mean, he came back, he graduated from Berklee School of Music, was at Guitar Center in I think Brentwood, Tennessee, and he was just playing the piano in the piano room in the Guitar Center, and some young black kid came over and said, "Who are you, and why don't I know you?" And the next thing you know, he was working with the pit band for like one of the top gospel choirs, and he learned what this is back here, I mean, Chicago did an album, I think it was Chicago 30 with Jay DeMarcus, and bass player from Rascal Flatts, and a really talented guy, a good producer. And Jay said, "Back here is where it is." It's and I remember a sign in a practice hall, Ace of Cups practice hall years ago, a big sign in their hall. It said, "Groove, don't prove." And I think that's one of the things. There's always something around the next bend, and I think curiosity is probably one of the things that keep people going.
Well, I'll tell you what, your music
next?
keeps everybody going. You've inspired generations. You'll continue to. I'll stop in anytime soon. Just a maestro of the soundtrack of our lives.
Well,
and again, Bill, can't wait to talk to you more, because there's so much more to what you're doing, and your talented son and your talented wife. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Brent.
Being with me today.
Thanks for hooking up and getting in touch with me. I mean, right away when I read your notice, I got to see what this guy's about.
Well, I'm so glad that you did. Honor of a lifetime, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great, Brent. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Bill. Bless you. Hey, that's a beautiful car.
Thank you very much. It's not mine.
Now, when you have a car like this and you have dents, some people will ask, how in the world can you get dents without doing a little bit of paint?
Well, we work everything from the underside of the panels with all sorts of tools meant to go all over the car.
I've heard before, it's really easy doing business with you guys.
I would hope so. We've been around for a minute.
From Pintos to Bentleys, man. Cars does it all.
Yes, we do. We'll work on anything, new and old and everything in between.